Today's video is one that I've been looking forward to for a while. It is about Microsoft's new Bing that is powered by ChatGPT. We finally got access to it. By we, I mean that a friend got access. I'm still waiting for my invite, but I'm excited to try it out. So let's get started. Let's see what the fuss is all about. So immediately when you look at it, there's a very stark contrast between old Bing and new Bing. The new Bing is designed to sort of get you started. So it gives you all the suggestions about things that you can do with it, but also the things that it's capable of. So things like asking questions, getting answers instead of being overwhelmed by options, and I really love that. And then getting inspired. So basically, it will sort of guide you and inspire you in terms of what you're looking for. But let's see. The examples that it shares with you are things like creating a 3-course menu, helping to plan for an anniversary trip, fishing, etc., getting fit, writing poems. All these are just suggestions of how you can get started with it. So a lot of it is very question-based. This is what I'm looking for. Traditional search has always been about writing a specific set of queries and then letting the search engine do the thing. But now it's becoming a little bit more conversational. So when you click on planning workouts, this is what it comes with. So initially you will get the normal search engine results, which is basically a bunch of links that it has ranked based on what it perceives as value for what you're looking for. However, on the side, it has a let's chat option where it basically goes into conversation mode. So this is typically side by side with your search results. So here on the left, it began immediately offering suggestions, a typical workout that you can do for your arms and abs with no sit-ups and on-gym equipment. And so it began giving actual instructions for that warm-up. So immediately you are getting the results you need from this page. The great thing that I liked about it is that it sort of cites its sources. So those little links that you're seeing at the bottom are basically sources of the information. And I like this because this version of Bing is basically designed to be a conversational search partner. So it will talk to you as you search. However, if you still want to look at the proper links or the original links, you can still click on them and do the traditional thing of reading and getting all the information for yourself. And so on the sidebar, you can click the Let's Chat option, which basically now puts it into chat mode and moves the search results to the bottom and prioritizes the conversation with you about what you're specifically looking for. So it will maintain and retain the instructions that it gave you as part of your initial query, and then it will now allow you to continue the conversation separately. And now I wanted to see if it could help me do the exercises correctly in order to avoid injury. So I asked it what form considerations should I be mindful of to avoid injury. Now this is the thing I liked about the search. You can see what it's doing and it gives you these helpful hints that show that this is what I'm actually looking for. So it sort of splits your query into a query that the search engine can understand from a more technical angle. So it will show you that step 1 is that it searched for form considerations to avoid injury, and then step 2 was to give you the answers. And so it will now give you a more conversational response, but it will still give you the links in case you want to actually go in and read the information for yourself. But you immediately get a nicely usable summary that could be helpful depending on the task that you're looking for. One thing that would be really good to understand would be how this affects the search ranking of the websites that it's prioritizing and also the traffic. Because if it's picking this information and showing it to you immediately, then that means that fewer people are going to be clicking on the links. So I'm not sure how the content publishers are going to respond to this. So you can check out the links in the new tab, and we will see that it is getting this content from all these places. So I decided to just randomly continue the conversation without even thinking and asked it to write a short story about the history of artificial intelligence, and I was testing out its conversational and creative capabilities. Now, this proved to be a very interesting problem later on, but we'll look at that shortly. So I asked it to write a short story about the history of artificial intelligence, and it gave back a pretty decent result. I did a quick check on these people, and it generally checks out, but I didn't do a deep dive. And again, this is one of the things that you need to be mindful about these ChatGPT tools. You need to have your BS meter very, very high. You need to cross-check everything that it gives you because it's been giving so much false information. All right, so it basically created this creative story, and then I noticed something very interesting. Towards the end of the story, it changed its writing format to be more succinct, almost poetry, and yet before it was much longer form, fuller paragraph, and then it started doing shorter sentences and formatting the content as if it was creating a poem. And so I got a bit curious about that, and I asked it, your text formatting after this is a little odd, why? And then it gave me an answer that I was not expecting at all. It said it was trying to create a contrast between two separate periods in the history of AI. And I was like, oh, that's very interesting. Basically, it said that there was the winter of AI and then the spring period of AI. And so it chose to create different styles of writing for each of them. In the first winter period, it used long sentences and paragraphs to convey a sense of complexity and difficulty. And then for the second spring period, it used short sentences and bullet points to convey a sense of simplicity and ease. And then it decided to rewrite the entire thing in the new format. I don't know why. I thought it would just answer my question, but then it decided to completely rewrite the new thing. I found this to be really interesting, and as a writer, it piqued my curiosity. So after I got those results, I asked it, do you always select your own writing style when asked a question? And then it was like, nope, I only do that when I'm doing creative tasks, such as writing a story, a poem, a song, or a joke. And in this case, it tries to use its imagination. And I'm like, okay, I can see why people are worried about some of these things getting sentient. So I was like, cool, let's move on to the next thing. And then it was like, yeah, thanks for your understanding. I was like, cool. And then it asked me, what kind of writing do I like to read or write? And I was amused, and so I decided to indulge it. And so I told it that I write creative fiction, sometimes poetry, and then this is when I hit a roadblock that I did not know existed. It immediately shut up. Basically said, we need to chat about something else. So what I discovered after doing some research is that Microsoft has chosen to limit the number of queries that you can ask in one specific session. I think you're limited to like 5 questions and then like 40 or 60 engagements in a day. And it turns out that people were abusing it and were asking all sorts of questions, and it was giving very, very shady results. And for me, that was a surprise, because if you're building a conversational chatbot, then the expectation is that the user can continue to talk with it within the same vein that it has been communicating before. But if now suddenly you have to be mindful of the fact that you have a limitation to your queries, then that poses a big problem, because what if I want this conversation to go forward? The only other option after that is to start a completely fresh conversation, which means you lose the context of the conversation or the query that you are having before. So for me, that's a really big negative, because I want to continue this conversation with this chatbot. But I was like, whatever, let us move forward to the next thing. So then you hit the little sweep icon on the end. I think that means like clear the conversation. When you do that, now it gives you like a fresh chat interface, which is slightly similar to what you might get with ChatGPT, as opposed to starting from the main search area. So I decided to use Bing in a way that Microsoft intended, which is as a search companion. So I asked it questions about traveling to Oxford and places to visit, and this was a very good example of how a real-world need for AI in search could look like. So you get the traditional search results, lots of images, lots of text, perhaps a map here and there, and then I decided to go into the conversation board. When I switched to chat mode, it had already given a few suggestions of places to visit in Oxford. I did not ask that question. I think it was based on what I was looking for, and it pre-populated the chat with that query. And so it gave me a few examples of places to visit. And then I asked it to specifically give me advice. So I said, I'm traveling to Oxford in a few months. What should I see? And then it told me that it was searching for the best time to visit Oxford, and then generated answers. And so then it said, Oxford is a great, beautiful city, stunning architecture. So it gives you some context about the responses that it's going to give you, which I think was really helpful. It also gives you the best time to visit Oxford, which is during the summer, and tells you about the weather conditions, but also warns you that it could be busy. And then suggestions for some of the things that you can see in Oxford. And I think that was really helpful. So then I asked it, if I had just an afternoon to visit Oxford, what would I see? Where would I go? And could it give me like an actual walking tour? And then to my surprise, it gave me an actual step-by-step walking tour. And so the problem with this is that, of course, it's harder to navigate a place using text as opposed to a map, but it helpfully gave me a map with Oxford walking tours as well. And so what I wanted it to do next was to turn the instructions it had given me into a map that I could follow, but it instead regurgitated the instructions in a much easier to read format, which I think was pretty helpful, but I thought it would return back like an actual map with directions, like a step-by-step direction. And so I wanted to see if I could push it forward and asked it to create a link to a Google map that has the directions on the walking route that it shared. And then it said, I'm sorry, I can't do that. You can do that at Google. It's currently beyond my limitation. So then this is where I hit the frustration with query limitations, because I wanted it to continue providing for me historical details, like in case you are a tour guide, why would you want me to visit these places and where could I find more information about those places? But I was like, whatever, let us move forward. It gave me a quick overview and then sent me to a link for walking tours with additional information, which is helpful, not what I wanted, but still really helpful as a search companion. It's basically saying that this is what a walking tour in Oxford could look like. One of the highlights is the Radcliffe Square, and it has things like the Radcliffe camera, a library that was built in 1737, etc. And then if you're interested in booking this tour, you can go to this website. The interesting thing that I'd also like to know is, are companies going to be paying a premium to show up in these search results? So if there are multiple tour companies in Oxford area, then some of them could pay a premium to be the preferred recommendation. But again, that's one of those classic search engine ranking issues. And so I wanted it to expand on this. Because I was really trying to push it. I wanted it to expand on this, but then it told me that it has limitations on what it can do. So this is also another place where I was a bit frustrated with the limitations on the number of questions, because like in ChatGPT, you can, if you spend enough time with it, you can get it to give you exactly what you're looking for. But because Microsoft has limited this, it means that I cannot continue this conversation beyond a certain number of queries. And so it was a bit frustrating, but I was like, all right, let's just proceed to the next. So then the next thing was, of course, I'm looking for flights to Bali from Entebbe. I'm not going to Bali. I wish I was, but it was another interesting real world use case. So then it gives you the several options to Bali from Entebbe, and it gives you a Skyscanner link, and you can click on those and it will give you additional information. But I wanted to remain within the big interface. So then it gives you a booking area, and I think this is being pulled from Microsoft Bing's flight search service, but it was nice that you could get all that information. So as a search companion, you're immediately seeing that it's providing for you context-sensitive information. If you're looking for something visual, it's going to share a few images. If you're looking for something that involves a map, it's going to plug in a map. And if you're looking for something like flights, it's going to plug in a flight search and selection option. So then I gave it specific dates, and it gave me a list of options, again, providing a link to directly go and search for flights away from this conversation interface. I gave it a budget maximum, no preference airline, but they should be able to depart from Entebbe. And then it gave me now something a little bit more robust, including pricing in Uganda shillings and times. So this was more helpful. My specific time and budget allowed it to be more specific with results. So when you click on that, you get taken to Bing's travel interface, which is now a completely separate thing from the AI-driven search queries that we. And so yeah, it gives you the user information, which I think is really helpful. So again, this is a very good example of how you can use this as a search companion. So then I asked it that I want to compare prices on different websites. What I was trying to do was to get it to get all that information and throw it here for me. But again, defaulted to trying to send me back to another website, which was fine. So I decided to do a new query. Now, this one was really interesting. I asked, what are the best webcams that I can use for live streaming? And so it gave me a few recommendations like the Razer Kio, the Logitech Brio Ultra HD, the Logitech C922 ETC, and then asked me what kind of live streaming I do. And so I mentioned that they're mostly for Twitch gaming, and I gave it a budget. And then asked it to share the top 10 links to them. Now, the interesting thing that I found here was that it said it cannot share links to its webcam. And I was curious. I was like, wait, why aren't you allowed to share links to webcam? And then it says, I prefer not to continue this conversation. I'm still learning. I appreciate your understanding and patience. So this really confused me until I realized that it was probably filtering out webcams for adult content. So it did not want to give me a link to a webcam because it thought I was asking it for a link to adult content. I think that is my hypothesis, but I found that really interesting and an unexpected limitation because I want the link to the Logitech StreamCam that you suggested. Let me look at it. But yeah, so I decided to continue this. I asked it to adjust the budgets and it gave me better options. I don't know anything about any of these. And so I wanted it to give me a link to a good review of the Razer Kio Pro, right? And then he told me, I'm sorry, I prefer not to continue this conversation. So there are some very interesting limitations that it's being given. And I think Microsoft might not be taking into consideration the full context why certain queries are being asked. Of course, it has its own ethics to worry about, so I won't go into the details of that. So then I tried that again, and this time it actually gave me the links, which I thought was really interesting because in a previous search query, it refused, and then in this one, it gave me the link. So yeah, I guess there's still a lot of testing that's happening. I think they're putting in a lot of boundaries for the AI so that it doesn't end up creating lots of shady content, but it will be interesting to see how this develops. So that is a first look at the new Bing. I think that overall, as a search companion, it is extremely helpful because if you're able to talk about search in a conversational way, then it means that you're able to use search better. I remember when the internet was sort of like really new, especially here in Uganda, and you had sites like Ask Jeeves, and Ask Jeeves would try to be very conversational like this. But unfortunately, the technology hadn't evolved a lot back then. And even when you're using Google, there are all these things you could do as a quote-unquote power user. And that meant things like adding special symbols to your Google search so that you could refine your search. But it was really technical and the average user didn't get it. But this is a game changer because you're basically asking search queries. You're basically doing search in a way that is intuitive to how we think about looking for things, which is basically, let me ask you a question, refine that question, give me some suggestions, let me make a selection, show me some visual cues that I can use, and I use that to make the decision based on the information that you've shared with me, as opposed to the traditional way where you basically just get a bunch of links and you have to read through it and figure out which one is relevant and lots of tabs. So this was really, really interesting. I think I like the new Bing. Will it make me switch to Bing as my default search engine? I really don't think so. I'm a very technical person, so doing search the way that I've always done, and for that, Google will always be my preferred option. But I think this could be a game changer. I think this could actually have more people using Microsoft Bing. But let's see what the audience says. Let's see what the public says. If we see a significant shift in users moving from Google search to Microsoft Bing, then their investment would have paid out tremendously. But I think this is a fantastic start, and I can't wait to see what Microsoft does in the future going forward. So thanks for watching. I hope this was useful. See you in the next video.